This week we're reviewing Kentucky Route Zero Act 3. So we reviewed the first two episodes back in January for episode 28. That's confusing. Our episode 28, yes, their first two acts for Kentucky Route Zero, our episode 28, and for the most part, we all liked the game. I think Steve and I really liked it, and Justin liked it quite a bit, but you just felt like it wasn't as gamey as you were expecting.
I would probably categorize this maybe more as like some kind of interactive fiction and not so much like a game, capital G game.
Yeah, because there is choices, but it's ultimately you're clicking through dialogue trees for the most part, which you're famously not a huge fan of. But we were all interested enough that we wanted to check out the next chapters as it came out. And there's 5 total acts, we're told. And the first act came out in January 2013. So they're on track to maybe get one more out this year, but we'll see. So we've played, I don't know if everybody's played all of Act 3. I didn't get quite through it. It was
I haven't gotten all the way there either.
Yeah. It was longer than I was expecting.
Yeah, I got all the way through it, but it took me a long time. I think it took me longer to get through all of Act 3 than it did to get through both Act 1 and 2 together.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Perhaps by a considerable margin, like maybe almost twice as long.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, so it's quite long. So if you don't know anything about the game, first off, you could go listen to our other episode and we kind of talk about it in more detail, but it's kind of hard to describe the game. I mean, it's sort of inherently kind of very postmodern.
It gets harder to describe. As
Yeah. So the quick little summary is that you're a delivery truck driver, Conway, and you have a dog with you, and you stop at this gas station, and you just start talking to people, and you start kind of wandering around the environment and driving through a map, and you kind of slowly piece together how this place isn't quite what it seems. It does take place in Kentucky, but there's a lot of stuff that is not actually happening in Kentucky that's happening in the game, and it just sort of unravels further and further you go into the game. And it's kind of hard to talk too much about what it is because you start to give everything away pretty quickly. But it is structured a little bit like a play. I mean, they kind of riff on that. You know, this like it shows like big block letters like Act 3, you know, as you start playing. So they're kind of pitching it a little bit as a play/game. But it was a lot of top lists for 2013. Anyway, all that exposition out of the way.
and for those who haven't played it, there's a sort of free experience minigame thing called Limits and Demonstrations.
Yeah.
Which is, sort of gives you a flavor of the game.
Yeah.
It actually ties into this act quite a lot. But if you don't know what's going on, you won't really spoil anything.
Yeah. But there's actually 2 of them. There's one that's the entertainment,
which I think is separate, right? It's not.
No. It's still in the same universe.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't have any of the. I'm not sure it has any of the same characters.
I didn't do that.
But there are 2 little mini games you can just download for free and try out. Anyway, so as the person who had the most controversial review last time, Justin, what did you think of Act 3?
I think I agree with Steve's assessment that it's getting harder and harder to explain what's going on. I honestly started playing Act 3, and I couldn't actually remember exactly how Act 2 ended or like what point we had left the plot off. So I started Act 3, and I don't know how much we want to talk about like the beginning of like what happens there, or maybe people who are listening to this episode haven't played the first 2 acts.
Yeah, so the other thing is, since some people might be watching for the first time, we always do a spoiler section.
Right.
So we're not going to full on spoiler everything, but if maybe the first 10 minutes or something is probably fine, just so we can have some sort of sense of what's going on, and then we'll do it spoilers later.
So it starts out, Act 3 begins, and the characters are in, I guess, like the doctor's house.
Yep.
And Conway has this new leg, which I don't remember that being there at the end of Act 2.
That's
so this
new.
has happened in sort of like the in-between Act 2 and 3.
When the doctor fixes his leg.
When the doctor fixes his leg, but apparently fixes it by giving him a glowing skeleton leg somehow.
So did you get to the... So you guys... Like, that doesn't ever make any sense for you guys, right?
Well, I mean, I had ideas what it meant.
No. Like, okay, well, there's strong hints as to what it means later in Act 3.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So maybe you must not have gotten to.
So I probably didn't get that far. So, but I saw this and I was like, man, maybe I didn't remember Act 2 as well as I thought I did, So I started off kind of feeling confused, and the more it went along, the more I sort of was unsure exactly what was going on. So I'm kind of just along for the ride right now, and I have no idea how far along I am in it. Maybe after the spoiler break we can like compare notes and see how far we all got. But so far I think it's kind of more of the same. I mean, there's definitely been some spots in this act which made me go, wow, like that's really like beautiful, like the way they do some of the stuff are really interesting.
Like the scene at the cafe /
the bar that was really cool. Yeah, that part was neat. So there's a lot of that, and I think it's more the same of Act 1 and 2. So I think that if you liked those, you'd still like Act 3.
Steve?
Yeah, I liked it. I mean,
so just to interrupt you, so
Sure.
what I remember from your assessment of 1 and 2 is that you really liked the overall thing, but the thing you were concerned about is that at the end of Act 2, it kind of went off into this other tangent, and you were concerned that they were going to continue to go on that tangent, and rather than keep it kind of grounded, it got a little bit more surreal. So where did it fall?
Yeah, I feel like it doesn't continue to get any more surreal. Like sort of like now sort of maintains the level of surrealness, or maybe comes down a little bit from that sort of hype, peak at the end of Act 2, which is a relief. However, it goes on a lot of tangents, in Act 3. And it wasn't until the end of Act 3, which I guess we can't really talk about at all in this episode, so you guys haven't got there yet, where they finally begin to pull together a lot of the pieces from the previous 2 acts, as well as limits and demonstrations, and sort of begin to make a little bit more sense. And so that was hard. Like for a lot of Act 3, I'm like, what is, are they just going to keep, adding more and more mythology? Are they ever going to try to weave any of these things together? So I wonder if since it is sort of 5 parts, that the middle of Act 3 is kind of sort of the maximum number of plot threads, and now they're going to weave them all together as we go into Act 4 and 5. Because it does seem like things are starting to make a bit more sense, and a lot of little details at the beginning that was it seemed really strange that they included them are starting to come back up again as Act 3 progresses.
So kind of how would you compare it to your experience with Lost? Because that was a lot of the same complaints people have about Lost, was that it was just got weirder and weirder, nothing was ever resolved. I mean, is that...
I actually disagree with those complaints about Lost. I feel like that's like the X-Men, complaints. But Lost actually did resolve a lot of its plot points. I feel like it maintained, it slowly gained additional mythology, but then it kept wrapping up previous mythology as it went along in a way that was, superior to most shows, I say. But so I feel like this is doing the typical thing where they keep adding more and more crazy plot elements to it, and they haven't really resolved any of them yet. But I think it may be contained enough that they can actually resolve them all while I can still have some memory of what they were, as opposed to coming, I feel like I've read some book series and stuff where they begin to resolve some of the plot, and it's been so long I don't even remember that it was even part of the story.
Yeah, well, just in kind of sit there.
Yeah,
you can.
I guess yeah. So so it probably depends a little bit on just I actually went back and reread the Wikipedia page to remind myself of the plot from Act 1 and 2. So I remember some of those things. So
I find that Wikipedia sometimes comes right up to the edge, or sometimes crosses the line into spoiler territory, right? Where if you try to get the plot summary from the Wikipedia page, you can often wind up ruining the thing.
Yeah, no, it is dangerous, but it is safe in this case. They break it up by act and they don't spoil the later stuff.
Okay, that's good.
So overall, I mean, are you as satisfied as you were with the first 2, or?
I felt like Act 3 was overlong, and there's one sequence
over long,
too long. And there's one sequence, particularly towards the end, which is extremely long.
Oh yeah.
And I was playing this at 1:30 in the morning. I'm trying to stay. I guess it was going on. I thought for sure that I had to be near the end, and then it went on for another 45 minutes. And this
I think I know the scene you're talking about.
One scene.
Yeah.
Which is a crazy scene.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a whole game within a game almost.
Yeah. Yes, I know what you're talking about.
I think I'm in that scene right now.
Yeah. And so. And I feel like as a whole, this act felt like the dialogue trees went on too long. Some of the scenes went on too long, and I was getting antsy. I just want to move the plot forward. So I think they could have dialed it back a little bit.
Literally,
yes. Without giving too much away.
Yeah.
But I did like that they had introduced a lot of new.
Yeah. Sorry.
I did like that they introduced a lot of sort of new twists on with the dialogue tree format. At the very beginning, there's just this wonderful scene where they're talking on the phone and you can't hear the other side of the phone, so it's inaudible. So all the responses are inaudible, confused, inaudible, perturbed, inaudible, angry, or
just
whatever.
Choose the emotion.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was great. And then there's another scene where you get to choose lyrics from a song, and the song gets performed. That's really cool. And then there's another scene where he is kind of drifting off and daydreaming. You're just picking his meandering random thoughts, his internal monologue.
I got that,
which is kind of cool and really actually fills in some of his sort of personal backstory.
Oh, that's the very beginning.
No. This is at the very end. I'm thinking of.
Oh, okay. Because he kind of does the same thing at the very beginning.
There might be
when he was still the leg thing was still.
Yeah. I think that was more of a dream sequence. Okay. I don't know. That's how I interpreted it. And there was, I forget. I took some notes. There was one other different twist they did on that. And then there's another thing they do now in this act where you'll pick a live dialogue for someone to say, and they'll start saying it and then they'll get cut off. And they would actually say it. I'm like, wow, this is so cool. This is how like people talk. Like I know what I'm gonna say, and then someone cuts me off. Like,
Yeah.
you know, and I love they have captured that in the game.
I was really tempted to do that. I did.
So I like that they kind of are mixing up the format a little bit in this act, and that's cool. But it did seem a little bit quite long. So my opinion wasn't quite as high as the previous 2 acts. What about you?
I actually fell in love with this act. I remember really liking the first 2, but it was sort of like you had to kind of like calibrate what your expectations were. You know, it was so different, and it was in a way so sparse that you kind of had to say, okay, I know I'm going in for this very sparse kind of artsy kind of thing, and I'm going to have the experience within that sphere. And I was actually even a little hesitant to go back into Act 3. I think we actually both were. We were talking about like we hadn't really gotten as far in as we wanted to by the time we were going to record. I was kind of like, yeah, I don't really remember. Like, I liked it a lot, but it wasn't something I wanted to like go back to a lot. You know? And even for the first like 45 minutes or whatever, I was kind of still in that same mode. It's like, yeah, this is cool. I remember this. I dig this. And then some stuff starts happening. I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And I think the things you're talking about where it's like really beautiful moments and like so unique, and there's nothing else like this. And it starts to do this thing, the game within a game aspect. Yes. It reminds me kind of like of a Dark Room a little bit, in that same kind of way where it starts growing and growing and growing. And it's just so it's so you could feel the love that was put into it. You know, regardless of whether it's your thing or not, you can feel that they really, really wanted to make something unique and special and memorable, and it's there. I mean, there's some really, really beautiful moments and really, you know, thoughtful things that happen and visually gorgeous, you know, in some cases.
Yeah, and the story gets a little bit more profound, particularly as you get some of the Lysette backstory, which I don't know if you guys hit yet or not. There's a little bit of it.
Yeah, there's a little bit in the beginning.
The opening scene sets up some of that, and then in the end, they sort of pay more of that off, and it's you know more emotional than the series I think has been so far.
Yeah. And I just love like the like deadpan delivery of all the weird things that happen. Like, I mean, they're I don't want to give away the specifics of them, but there are 2 characters that you kind of gang up with early on, and they're just completely nonchalant about, yep, these are what these are. These are the type of people these are, and there's no explanation or anything like that. They're just sort of joined your troop, you know, and they're very strange individuals. And there's one point, like, I don't know if you guys, if I mentioned it, but like even in the first 2 acts, if you go back to the gas station, like new stuff will start happening.
Yeah, I did that this time around.
And it's interesting. So when in the first 2 acts, when I was like going back and like recording some stuff for the previous episode, I went back to the gas station just to see what would happen. I kept going back to Joseph at the gas station. New stuff would keep happening. And one of the things that happened was there was this guy who showed up and started talking about this alternate storyline, and I had forgotten about it. And then I went to play Act 3, went back to the gas station, and the dude's still there. And he's like, it's this whole, which I want to talk in spoilers about. Something's going on, and there's weird interconnecting things with a bunch of the other characters that kind of seem like throwaway characters.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So anyway, so like just all the quirkyisms that go on with the game, especially like I realized when I went back to the gas station, all of a sudden I realized I had acquired this like group of people that were a complete like ragtag team of like little boy and dog and like grown woman and these other 2 guys.
I do have one complaint about that. So when I was like, going around like trying to find random places, I stopped at a bus stop.
Yeah.
You stop at the bus? Either you guys stop at the bus stop. I have a bus stop, and you can like chat to people at the bus stop, and like this old lady hopped on and like joined us. Like,
that's awesome.
But mysteriously, by the time like I arrived at the next destination, I have my ragtag team, no old lady.
Must have dropped her off somewhere.
Yeah, or she fell off. See you seen the old lady that caught a ride with us?
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed by that.
Okay. Well, anyway, I feel like I'm hoping what I'm looking at. This is kind of honestly, this is what I was hoping for from the very beginning. It's like you start. I love stories that start with like these really simple, like concrete, understandable situations, and then you zoom ahead, you know, 3 chapters in, and you're like, what is going? Like, how did we get here? You know, I love that feeling of like this journey that you've taken, and you've kind of ended up in this crazy place. So for sure, I love that, and I love the beautiful moments, and I love kind of the, like you said, the choices with the dialogue. I think this is way funnier than the first 2 acts. Like, I think the dialogue is actually legitimately funny. So I mean, overall, I love it. You know, I was not expecting to be as long as it is, so I didn't have time to finish it, and I'm really excited to go finish it. So
yeah, I'm excited for Act 4. I mean, Act 3 ends in a very sort of strange moment, and I'm very intrigued to see where that goes.
So do you like this more than the first 2?
It's more than this. I think it's pretty equal. You know, I think that it's all cut from the same cloth, and so I like it about as much as the other ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are we, I guess, sort of updating the review, do we still kind of basically recommend it for everybody? I mean,
Yeah.
I for sure would, but...
Yeah, it's hard to recommend like one act, plucked from.
Oh, yeah,
Well, you get the whole thing.
Yeah, because it's not even possible.
I'm saying for somebody who
Yeah.
hasn't played anything.
Yeah, it's not even possible. It doesn't change my review. Like,
Okay.
I think the things that I said before still stand.
Great game, but you weren't sure to recommend it.
It's really interesting. It can be very beautiful. There's some cool things going on, but prepare yourself for just a lot of clicking through dialogue trees.
Yeah.
Like your only level of interaction is clicking through dialogue
And
trees.
picking up dice and then never thinking about it
Yeah,
again.
like there's just if you're okay with that, just to set your expectations that it's basically just dialogue trees.
Well, I mean,
it's great.
I mean, there is the opportunity to like explore like the map, and
You can choose which dialogue trees to start.
no, but I mean, like you can actually like when you're like going through sort of Kentucky, you can like
sure.
navigate the map and find these little
Yeah.
side trees. I mean, there is a mist like element to this in terms of like at least deciding where to go
Right.
and then find your dialogue trees.
And not all of those locations though are fleshed out as like full scenes.
yeah,
Like
some are just text.
some of them you're still in
Yeah.
you're still in the top-down map view,
Yeah.
and you'll see the dialogue tree that you would be seeing if you were interacting with that character you've bumped into, or if you were like observing that place. But nothing appears on screen except for the map. So it's like,
Although interestingly, in one of those cases, like going back to, in the first two acts, I went back to Joseph, and you go back enough times, he's like, you should go to this museum, which I don't think, and either when we originally talked about it, none of us had found it. But he's like, yeah, go down the street and turn here and whatever. So I went and did that, and it was one of those text interaction things. But interestingly, when you're like crawling through the archives and you open something, you find this like diary, basically, of Joseph and Lula and I think Donald was the other one. And it turns out that the text in there is the description of the other game within a game, which I thought was a throwaway thing, but it turns out it's the actual
like actual plot point.
Yeah. Well, and Limits and Demonstrations is like audio recordings from the sort of backstory from the game within the game.
Oh my god!
So you're actually listening to their audio journals from that sort of
Interesting.
that
I want to talk more about this in spoilers because
Yeah.
there's something there. But I mean, I guess the only little asterisk I would add to what you're saying about the dialogue trees, because this is largely true. But I mean, for me, like the things I can do in Act 3 were determined by the choices I made in 1 and 2. In other words, when I went back to the gas station multiple times, a new character appeared. And now that a character is available to interact with in Chapter 3. Overall, the storyline is the same, but I think it's a little bit more than just like straight linear. There is some choices you can make.
Yeah, I think you have to make a conscious effort to actually do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very easy
Yeah.
to fall in the straight dialogue trees and probably have like the sort of the standard experience and like anything.
All the other stuff is, I mean, I'm not saying that there is some little extra, like extra credits.
Yeah, it's like they're like little goodies as opposed to that.
It's like Easter eggs, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, cool. So I guess overall we continue to sort of recommend it. Well, at least Steve and I recommend it for people to check out for Kentucky Road Zero, and you like it, but it's kind of hard to recommend because it's a little bit inaccessible.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think.
Okay. So if you have any feedback on the show, you can email us at feedback@lowearthorbit.fm. We're on Twitter at lowearthshow, and we love hearing from you on there. And we have all of the notes of the things that we talk about in the show at our website at lowearthorbit.fm. And for example, if you're watching this on YouTube right now, some of the older episodes when we were just doing audio, you can find them all on the website there. And we have a YouTube page, which you might actually be watching this on right now.
An update on the number of subscribers?
So I didn't actually check today, but so what we had talked about was we were trying to get to 10. And I had made some vague claim that Justin was gonna, I don't know, paint 10 on you. I forget what it was.
Was it? I don't remember.
You're like, don't sign me up for that.
Yeah, you made some commitment for me. No.
So we're trying to get to 10, and last time I checked, we were actually at 13.
Wow.
Yeah, getting up there, double digits. So I don't know. Does anybody have it in front of them? I'm curious to see. Yeah. Well, okay, it might actually change by the time we post the video. But at last time I checked, 13, which is pretty cool. And our Monument Valley interview is actually really popular. So please, I mean, we would love to. I mean, at least we'd like to get to 20, but I think if we got to 100, we will for sure do something awesome. I will personally guarantee if we get to 100, we'll think of something awesome.
We need those internet points. We need our subscriber count to get up there, and then we'll feel good
internet
about ourselves.
points. Absolutely. So subscribe, and we want to participate. We want to have you guys participate, and we enjoy seeing you there. So we're going to talk a little bit more about Act 3 spoiler territory. So we'll see you in just a minute.
Columbia, this is Houston.
All right, so spoiler. So the furthest I got was the Pit of Fire.
Okay.
The
so the game within a game.
So how many times did you play the game within a game?
I have not finished one complete playthrough.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't finished a complete playthrough either. I think
I've played for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
I think it might have been. I think I may have played the game for 3.5 or 4 hours total,
okay.
like the whole thing.
I got through the game within a game. I'm basically at the point where you can choose to hire assistants or have them do things or sleep or quit and try again. I'm there.
You're still going.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm just kind of like noodling around with like hiring people or having them do things. And I don't know exactly.
You're in the game within a game within a game.
I guess I don't even know like what it is that I'm trying to accomplish here. I'm just kind of goofing off, I guess. And then I eventually got to one point where I think I told the game within a game within a game within a game within a game. I told that
It's games all the way down.
Yeah, I told that person I chose like the sleep option, and now the game is just stuck. It's been there for like 15 minutes, just doing nothing at all. So I think I've hit some kind of bug. So I just eventually just quit the game before I came over here, and so I'm just like, I'll try this again later. So.
No, I was able to sleep many times, but yeah, that's definitely like in both reality and the game. Though I slept less because of this game within a game. Yeah, there's still a little ways to go.
Yeah, I'm sure that there is, but I'm feeling kind of a bit rudderless right now because I don't know like what it is that I'm trying to do in the game.
Yeah, I think this is where I was most frustrated was this particular phase because like it's so at that point so abstract. Like what is going on here?
Right.
And then you kind of get out of that and you sort of ratchet up levels of reality. It's like you know like waking up in Inception or whatever. Like, oh yeah, that makes sense again.
Yeah.
And then the kind of the momentum of the plot moves forward again. Okay. But I think that felt me with the most frustrating point.
Yeah. Is Xanadu like a really funny name? Am I the only person that thinks that's hilarious? Because that's the Olivia Newton-John movie, isn't it?
Oh, I thought it was the Rush song. Isn't that one of those?
Oh, is that what it's from? Okay, I don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
I thought it was the name of some like attempted proto-internet thing that someone tried to do.
I mean that's what I was just wondering. Like I thought it was like a joke. Like they were.
I think the real thing is it's from some like really old poem, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
I got the worst interpretation.
That's the original Xanadu.
Okay.
And then
I actually didn't
kind
know.
of riffing off of that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I feel ridiculous.
We'll put it in the show notes.
I knew that British class.
Why didn't I take that class? So I'm just trying to think of the other things that happened. So like there were a bunch of like side things that I don't know if I was supposed to encounter or like if they were part of the main story or not. Like the tree thing. Well, I guess actually you have to get the tree thing to get the
you can't not get the tree thing.
I think it's hilarious, by the way, that they're androids and that's totally unexplained.
But they don't. I mean, maybe you got through a different like path of the dialogue tree, but they didn't make that super clear. Like they alluded to it, like sort of like, oh, you've got a time chip installed or whatever, or you whatever. But I think that only got said to one of the two of them, and not.
Well, no, they say it in the graveyard when Ezra is talking to Junebug. She talks about how she came off the assembly line and like she had no eyes.
I did not.
Yeah,
this dialogue, this bit of dialogue.
So I mean, I saw some of that, but it didn't. I don't know. I guess it didn't strike me as necessarily being like an android. I got the impression that maybe they were.
We hear the walking people, too,
but not the
walking. Like there's oh, you don't put the sound on. So when she's walking, okay. I mean, you can hear metallic like.
Oh, I didn't notice.
Yeah,
it just that flew completely over.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think so. She talks to Ezra about being an android.
So when you got to the it's a church. Yeah. Did you go? Can you go with Conway and I'm forgetting the girl's name?
Well, that's spoilers that you guys haven't gotten to yet.
So, but when you get to that section,
but do you have a choice? What I'm saying is, I stayed in the graveyard with.
No, you don't immediately have a choice.
Okay, so I guess maybe we haven't gotten.
But did you have a conversation with Junebug as Ezra? At all?
Like were you playing as him?
Okay. Because they were So like when I was looking around the graveyards, I went through
look at all the headstones.
I did all the headstones. Yeah,
and one of the conversation trees that you can get through, and you always have to, not always, but a lot of times you have to choose one path. Yeah. You can't do the other ones. And it was sort of like, oh, you look. It was like, oh, have you always been an android or something like that? And she starts to talk about like.
But I mean, Ezra goes on like crazy, like there's like this crazy dinosaur, like dialogue tree. He goes on other times. Like he has a lot of really strange.
Yeah.
Things. Yeah, I don't know that I really believe anything he says.
Yeah.
There is there. I'm trying to remember. There were some interesting details, like backstory details about Junebug with that whole thing, because he's like, "Oh, is that your boyfriend?" And she's like, "Well, I don't really like to call it that." And then she talks about how she's an android, and like they, I guess, were.
See, I feel like I got exactly the same dialogue tree as you, except she never says I'm an android. She basically just.
Well, so she said I came off the assembly line, and we were supposed to be minor bots or whatever.
Okay.
And then so she says like they were. I thought it was kind of an interesting character moment where like the two of them were supposed to be like mining, and they decided they didn't want to, so they've been slowly acquiring different pieces of personality from other people and sort of creating a like conglomerate personality out of all those pieces.
So I feel like this is like the rough outline of the same dialogue tree I went through, but it was never this explicit. It was always just like very vaguely alluded to. Yeah, it was never as explicit as we were minor robots and we didn't want to be.
For sure, I don't know what the exact wording was, but they said something that spelled out that particular part.
Interesting.
So,
but I wish I would have gotten the minor robots, because it cast a different light on some events that you guys haven't gotten to yet.
Yeah, because I think they talked. Oh, I know what it was. They talked about. So she, in that conversation, she talked about how she ran across the tapes that were in the cave.
Mm-hmm.
And they said they used those to try to like learn how to sing. Like, you know, when you're in the first act, when you're like going through and you're like, So I thought that was cool how it sort of overlapped.
This is what maybe the frustrating thing about the game is that it's possible to miss details like this. Like I hate missing any details.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like I feel like I missed this. Maybe if I had talked to you guys, I never would have known.
I don't know.
I was gonna go back and replay and try and pick like every possible dialogue combination.
Well, it sounds like just the idea.
Justin's like, no, bro force.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's something mindless. I just want to like shoot things, blow stuff up.
How you doing over there? Doing okay? And like I thought the song thing was pretty cool. Like that whole like that scene in the bar.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I like how really the roof sort of like floats
I love that stuff when they do that. They did that with
really
the barn, and I didn't. So did you get to the horses? I guess you would have had to have. Yeah. Okay. I didn't realize up until this point that the horses were like a reoccurring theme in the game, because there's the gas station, but there's also like at the barn, the horses like at the gateway to Zero,
like in the field.
In the field, and now they're in the road, obviously. And there was another one I'm blanking on, but I kind of get the feeling like that's the core of some aspect of this, and I'm kind of interested in that.
Or just Kentucky and.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'm reading too much into it.
Kentucky Derby, like it's got a horse thing going on there.
That's possible. That's possible. Yeah. So I'm trying. I'm like running through my mind all the different things, because there are a bunch of like side things I did, but I just can't remember the specific thing.
There was like a movie theater you could go to.
Did not see that.
No, I didn't see that at all.
The truck,
is that on the Zero, or is that around like the town?
That's in the town.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't get that.
Oh, there's new games at the gas station. Like if you go to the computer terminal.
Yeah.
Did you play those? Like the therapist and the medicinal what is it? The medicinal sports medicine doctor of 1970.
What?
That is exactly what it says. It's crazy. And there's those are pretty funny. I mean, those kind of entertaining.
So I can't remember what it took place at. So the characters, like the three characters that were in the, like in limits and demonstrations that are visiting the museum there, Lula's exhibit.
They were the chess players.
They were chess players, but they also appear. Have you guys seen them or into them yet in this act?
No.
Well, so at the very beginning of Act 3, when you get back to your truck, aren't there those three people who are trying to get into the museum?
Yes.
Are they the same people who were in the basement of the gas station?
That's them, yes.
Okay.
The gas station, and they're also the same people that were in the other game.
In Limits and Demonstrations?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was like, when I first saw them, I'm like, I was just in a random group. And then as it went through more of the dialogue, I was like, actually, these might be those same people from the gas station.
Yeah.
And they also ignore you the same way they ignore you in the gas station.
Exactly, yeah. You can talk to them as much as you want. They won't respond.
Right.
And they argue and bicker constantly like they do everywhere they go.
Well, there was one spot in my version where one of the people, like, you'll say something, and the one people are like, did you hear that? I thought I heard like
Yeah.
And this was our running thing about like, is Conway dead?
Yeah. Are they all dead? Yeah. It's because there is that whole like, the mine collapse, and then we sort of find out it's like Walker, is that her? There's
oh god, I can't, Weaver. Yeah. She's like, I used to live here.
Yeah. Like so there's all these hints like
and it's better than being 6 feet in the ground. Or
exactly. There's all these hints that she's dead too, but he's interacting with her, so
they're the graves at the house, but they're like, well, there's nobody in those graves.
Yeah,
exactly.
And that's did you read the headstones? Those are really funny.
They're really great. Yeah, I love those. It's like Bert or Ernie or something. I mean, like they're
they're not. Oh, that's right. Who it is? Yeah.
So, then it's like some of the commentary is really weird. It's like seemed reasonable. that was their like entire epitaph.
Yeah. Well, who knows?
Yeah. So wait. So you said there were the three people were at the beginning? I didn't run into them.
You almost had to.
Yeah, they're at the. Yeah, like you're in the parking lot.
Yeah, it's like the very first scene after you get out of the doctor's house.
I don't think they were there for me.
You're like in the parking lot of the museum.
Yeah.
And you can get in the truck.
Yep.
Or you can like take 10 steps forward and you're at the front steps of the museum and there's like three people who are like at the door.
We're trying to get in the museum, but it's closed.
There was nobody there for me. Unless I really missed something, which is possible.
But did you take the dice from the table?
I did. Yeah.
No, so I did too. So that eliminates that variable.
Yeah, I didn't take the dice from the table.
I'll go back and play it because I'm usually pretty meticulous.
It's not terribly profound.
No. Well, I'm just curious. Like, was that intentional? Like, did I just miss it, or like, are they intentionally?
Are you deliberately not getting it because there's something the game is?
I'm just curious. Yeah. Because there's at least some characters that show up or not show up depending on your decisions. So I was just curious about that. All right. Well, I'm gonna keep playing because I'm really interested to see what happens.
Yeah, the ending is really. I'm really curious to see what you guys think. It's really very different.
Okay.
I mean, it's not
as different as
far from the close for this game, but
yeah.
It's. I'm curious what you guys think of it, given particularly your Android revelations. Because that's not how I interpreted the ending, but like now I'm like, oh, maybe this is something totally different.
Yeah, interesting. Okay.
Cool. See you guys next time.
$85 minutes? No, wait, 67%.
Okay. That'll do.
Really big. So we all at least liked it somewhat, and it is. So there's 2 more parts theoretically coming this year.
This year?
Was it? I think that's what you had originally said in the.
Oh, I forgot.
Okay, don't worry about it.
Sure, we can watch the episode.
That's not even. How funny would that be? We're all just watching. Right, you're just choosing dialogue options. It doesn't affect the final outcome as far as we can tell.
Except for the name of the dog.
Except for the name of the dog.
Which is persistent.
Or?
This is where like a screen within a screen showing our previous episode.
I know, making use of...
But there was no video back then.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, yes, you're right. Yeah, what would that show? Like a waveform, like the rolling tapes? Like
well, the thing
or we should like just take some extra like beef roll footage and then like make it all black and white, old-timey with like, you know, like... I don't know. Beboppy.
So there's this documentary I've been watching called This Is Radio, and it's basically a documentary about radio people. And when they do that, where they want to do excerpts from the show, they show an oscilloscope, like a real oscilloscope, showing the waveform of the episode.
Oh my god!
And they want to just, like cut in bits of the show.
Because on like cheesy like news programs, they always just show like a tape reel. Which it should be with the
13.
Okay, all right, that's good.
A cumulative total of 567 video views.
All right, pretty good. That's serious numbers, right?